Hey, I also have an 8-track player and a whole bunch of 8-tracks.
I'm just gonna tell you they disintegrate. Cause I have
And
that
that's the problem. I
experience.
stored them.
Really?
So I'm guessing that they've disintegrated.
When you're, I mean, this was years ago at Easter, we were going through stuff and it was all these 8-track tapes and I'm like, oh, here's the oddments and I put it in and it just kind of.
Shredded it.
Test.
It just kind of became
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the board meeting. Getting right after it, Dr. Vollmer, review of the agenda.
Everything in the agenda is correct, and we will continue.
Okay, we'll go right into special reports. Standard reference report update. And Tracy Lawson,
Yes.
you want to take over the way?
Sure, I'm excited to talk to you about this today. This has been something that we've had a goal to implement in our district for a long time.
Test.
And just to clarify, in a traditional grading system, there might be a math grade with an A, B, C, or D. In a standard reference reporting system, there would be a specific goal or a learning goal. Let's say I can add fractions to a certain point, and then you would be given a 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the learning progression for that skill. So that is what a standards reference grading report would be. It was back in 2015 when a group of 8 of us from the Teacher Growth and Evaluation Committee went to Colorado. We had this in mind that we wanted to implement this. What we learned from there is that it's not something you implement right away, and there's a lot of steps to get to where we are at today. But what we learned from that conference really has driven our work since 2015 in a really exciting way. And the first thing that we have done is to prioritize standards, and I think you've learned a little bit about that when we looked at professional learning presentations. So in every content area, we have prioritized standards K through 12, which is something new in our district. And not only have we done that for the first time, but we've also had that going long enough that we're reviewing and revising on an annual basis. So that's the first step to make sure that we know what we want kids to learn. And once we have done that, then the next step is to write proficiency scales for each one of those standards. And so we have done that in almost all content areas. And then after that, we've been implementing those now. So that's where we are at. And after we have those scales, then we are talking about the assessments that go with them. How are we going to know that students are learning that specific skill? And we're at that point now where we are starting to implement those. And now that teachers are giving those assessments, we're naturally talking about, okay, how are we going to report progress and grade? And so that's where we are at today. And although the process has taken us a long time, we know that it's been the right process. We have talked to other districts around the nation that just said, okay, we're going to implement standards reference reporting, and they rolled that out maybe the next month. What they learned is they did it all wrong. They have to go back and start identifying what we did. So we've gone slow to go fast and do the right thing. And we have a report card committee that's in place. We have administrators, teachers, coordinators, and our tech people, so that we are really looking at every facet of doing this. What we are doing is setting up a pilot for the second semester. We are going to be implementing standard reference grading, standard reference grades for grade 3 in both math and Phi-Ed at Edison and Perfect. So we just came from a meeting there this afternoon where we had the third grade teachers, the Phi-Ed teachers, and some other committee members really talking about what that's going to look like, because there are a lot of details that have to be worked out. So that's been exciting. Also, as a report card committee, one of the items that we want to do is create a handbook. So one of our first things that we have developed is our grading beliefs, and that is one of the attachments in your board packet about what we think about grading, why we are revising what we're doing. And one of the things that we also need to do for some grades, we have teachers that are putting in work behaviors or attitudes, extra credit, maybe in a grade, and we don't want any of that to happen. We want a student's grade to be only academically what they are doing. We don't want anything else to be included in that. We would include those behaviors in another area in the report card. So again, everything on the report card will truly reflect the learning of that student. So we are starting to work on that handbook. We had teams from both Perkett and Edison attend a national training from Marzano, who we're working with as far as our teacher evaluation, which they came back and they said that it really has impacted what they are going to do moving forward. We set up parent meetings for right after January so that we can share with parents how that's going to change, but at both Perkett and Edison for grade 3, so that will change the reporting. So we are also looking at Power School, our grade book, setting up that before Christmas breaks. Again, teachers have that in place, so we're trying to cover every detail that we can to make the process go as smooth as we can. And depending on how the pilot goes, we want to implement this district-wide in math and science next fall. So again, we know that there's going to be challenges and a lot of successes, but we want to learn as much as we can and be able to implement this district-wide. So we will have a lot of questions, but we think as a group together that we can answer those, and it will be a much better reporting for parents on how their children are doing. So we're excited about implementing this in the district. So, anyone has any questions?
Board?
Question, one, I heard it towards the end there. What's been done over the last couple of years to involve parents and students in this process?
Well, they have, as far as parents, I would say that they're learning more about what the implementation of scales means during parent-teacher conferences. They have been involved. We have a lot of student-led conferences, so students are talking more about their learning. And for students, teachers are doing some really amazing things in the classroom. So if you talk to them, like, how are you doing with these fractions? They can say, well, I'm a 2 because I have this, but I need to know this or be able to demonstrate this before I can move to a 3 to that next level. They are taking more ownership of their learning, and that's exciting to see students doing that. So I think their parents are more aware of what they're doing too through their students.
Already in.
What's been talked about for that transition? I've heard some of those same stories where you said, hey, other school districts have just changed this, and
Right.
parents have said, what the heck, my kid no longer gets an A or B or a C. You know, what does that mean? That they didn't understand it. I'm curious what those next couple of steps, how the parents will take it. You know, Johnny comes home with a math homework and it says 9 out of 10 on it, or it says 7 out of 10 on it. It doesn't say 3. It doesn't say 2 on it.
Right.
So how does a parent understand that a son or daughter is or isn't getting it until they get the report card?
And there's, again, in the grade book through Power School, that's what we're getting set up now so that parents can go in and look and see that ongoing progress. But parents, I think already they have a better idea of what scales mean and how we are implementing those for each particular learning goal or target. So that's already in place. But the parent meetings that we have in January will introduce to parents what we're doing, allow them to ask questions. We're going to do a parent handbook and with frequently asked questions, so that learning from other districts what they have done, we will plan to implement in our district as well, knowing that there are questions in those areas.
I can't remember whether it was Minnesota or someplace in North Dakota where it was just a headline. They didn't bring anything beyond that. It was just simply parents now need to understand that some of these grades aren't A, B, C, D grades. That's what's coming next. Is that right?
Right.
In the next year or two or next couple of months for some of these pilot groups, you won't see an A, a B, or C, or a D on your kid's report card.
You would see for math, say for grade 3, they're gonna see 8 or 9 different specific skills and learning targets. And then they will see the progression. They might have a 2 and then a 3, and then a 2 and a 3 again, just in the skills they're learning and just how they're progressing through that learning. But we'll let parents know that
It's gonna be
Yeah.
a steep learning curve for that.
We have for the last several years been using standards reference reporting in our kindergarten program. So students that have come through kindergarten, they know what that process looks like. And it is, it has been happening around the United States for quite some time. Many of our military connected families are coming, a lot of elementary schools that are standard reference grades. So it'll take a little getting used to and a lot of questions, but I think the biggest part of it is that instead of just developing scales, we develop scales in what we call kid speak. So kids can very easily reference that scale and understand in the classroom what they need to do. So when you go into classes, you do see our kids being able to reiterate what they can and can't do. And that's where we really need it to be, because we have to have kids that take ownership in their own learning. So it's an exciting process. So
and setting their own
Yeah,
goals too,
yeah.
about this is where they want to be, and this is what they know they have to do to get there. So that's nice to see kids talking about that.
Speaking just from my personal experience, my kids, we had a conversation at home not 2 weeks ago about scales. And it was quick. And they knew what 1, 2, 3, and 4 meant. I think that for as hard of a time as we have embracing change as a general, population of humans, this is going to be a big shift for decades. We've all been used to A, B, C, D.
That's what we had.
That's what we all speak, right? Now speaking a whole different language is going to be there's going to be a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to ease it in and do it slowly and again, learn from what we do, good, bad, or otherwise, and try to make it better. We'll do better as we know better.
Yes, Ms. Lester.
I just want to say thanks to the elementary for leading this and going first.
Yeah, you will be big part.
It will get to secondary eventually. I think because parents and kids will expect that detail of information, but I also know that there are not outside users of elementary and middle school report card grades, and there are of high school. Whether it's, until universities get away from GPAs and
Right.
scholarships, have all of those things. We'll get to that point eventually. I see it down the road at secondary, but we'll have to convert it back into a letter grade. I mean, just because there are people that need those.
Yeah.
That was
People
another
in
question on my
institutions,
mind. So
yeah.
thank you. We're not going to be able to say to XYZ College, I got a 3.2. What does that mean?
Right.
Yeah.
You can't average out my scales
Dr.
level
Holmes,
1.7.
what did you want to-
And the other thing would be is that I think our parents will get used to, because if you think about the traditional report card math, and it's a grade, they're gonna have a wealth of information. They're gonna know what standards in math their students have mastered. So we will eventually report out at that at the secondary level, but then we'll have to convert those 1, 2, 3, and 4s into a.
Dr.
and we know how
Homer,
to
did
do
you
that.
wish to add?
Yeah, California University system now accepts standards reference grades for college admission. And some states have a process where they will convert that to a traditional GPA, much like we're doing with, we have a weighted GPA at the high school. And so some schools only recognize the 4.0 scale and some will recognize the weighted. So we will continue to work on that, and we will just adjust as time goes on.
My grandkids have been on this, California, all for, one's an 8th grader and one's a 9th grader now, and they moved Jasper up to the 9th grade based on what his accomplishments were, and so it's, and they don't seem to have a problem with it. And they didn't quite understand me when I asked her, yeah, I haven't got any Freddies, have you?
Like most things, it's not the kids that have the problem adjusting.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
Yeah.
Change is always
Yeah.
difficult.
I would just ask that you keep the board through the
Yeah.
process, because it is a pretty big change.
Right. So we'll start small,
Yeah.
get it right before we move on.
Board, any further
Can-
questions?
Can we get a copy of the parents' handbook?
Oh,
so
sure,
we can
please.
see what's,
Yep, and that's still in process.
Yeah.
We're, yep.
but yeah, I
Share that.
wrap my head around it.
Okay.
I'm like,
Okay, thank you very much.
interesting. Thanks.
Okay, we'll go on to item B, Cognia.
Yes, okay, Cognia used to be Advanced Ed, and before that it was NCA. It is our school improvement model. They just switched their name within the last 6 months, so we're kind of used to trying to get this Cognia thing under wraps. What I'm going to share with you today is the exit report that was provided to us upon the team's exit. We had a team of 12 here. They were with us for 3.5 days. They spent a lot of time in all of our schools, and they were led by a lady from Kentucky by the name of Donna Ware. And she was a Southern Belle who came in and kind of took us all by storm. She led that team from work sessions early in the morning till late at night. And at the end, they produced this exit report, like I said, which is the preliminary, and there'll be a final written report coming. Cognia is all about the notion of promoting continuous improvement in schools. And when we talk about our PLC initiative and the Marzana work and standard reference grading, that's all part of what we talk about, is that idea of consistently and continually getting better. What Cognia does is they provide accreditation for schools that, after an evaluation process, to determine where we are at in comparison with other schools and how we are doing in our process along the road to continuous improvement. So they came in, I gather firsthand information as well as review all of the data that we provide to them, and in a large district with 1,600 plus employees and 7,700 students and a total of 19 school buildings, we have a lot of data to share. So they interview people while they're here, they review documentation, and they go into many classrooms and they try to get a taste of what Minot Public Schools is all about. To give you an idea about the latitude of where they were at, they interviewed 3 of our school board members, myself, a superintendent, down the list, 244 teachers, 195 students, classified staff, 561 interviews in the time they were here in Minot, which was very impressive. Beyond that, they spent a 20-minute segment doing Elliott observations, and that's an evaluation of the learning thresholds and opportunities within classrooms. Their 20-minute segments, they completed 194 of those segments, and they look at the areas that are listed on the left there in regard to how we are doing within our classrooms. There are 3 separate scores there. The first score is the score that the team gave us on those Elliott. The second score, where it says MPS, is the score that we gave ourselves in Elliott's that we had completed with the self-evaluation. And then the AIN is the area network average. And so when you look at all of that, you can see, for example, equitable learning. Do we provide equitable learning opportunities for all of our kids? They gave us a 2.92. We said 2.95. This is on a scale of 1 to 4. And to get a 4, very, very difficult. The area network is 282. So we were above the national or the worldwide average. Actually, Cogni is worldwide. High expectations for our students. They thought we set higher expectations than we think we do in dealing with our kids. Very good. Supportive learning environment was a high score for us. Active learning, I won't go through all of them. The one that was the lowest was digital learning, and that was going into classrooms and seeing the technology that we have being implemented in a way that it promotes student learning in the classroom. We have a lot of technology, but they didn't always see technology as an active part of lessons and activities in the classroom. There were general, go ahead.
Did that one improve from when they were here? Because that was a concern when they were here.
Yeah, it was. I would say we have improved some. I can't remember what the
I
exact.
think we're much closer to the average network score than we
Yeah.
were before.
Yeah, I think we were like a 1.4 last time, and we were like a 1.73. So in that time, we got more technology in our classrooms, but we also have some steps to go. The next part is going to be the general findings, things that they want to comment on about our school, and then it is followed by recommendations that they think that we're going to need to work on. The general findings, first of all, they said that our district has exceptional commitment to student focus, purpose, and direction, which guides decision-making for the system. They feel that we have visionary, effective leadership from the governing board, and when they say superintendent, that means from the district. That's not just me, okay? School system of 19 schools, 1,600 plus employees cultivates a welcoming environment of pride, tradition, and family for each group of stakeholders. And they really commented a lot about the strong relationships that they saw between our teachers and our students. They talked about our professional learning structure, including the expectations for personnel, that we promote collegiality through our PLC processes, our collaborative work through our professional learning, through Marzano, and our organizational effectiveness, especially with emphasis on onboarding our new employees to district initiatives, was definitely noticed by that team, and our work with MPSS, academic and behavioral pathways. So strong comments about that. They like our strategic plan. They feel that it's guided our decision-making and long-range planning for the use and resources in the system. And they feel that we have a great platform with all of our CTE to provide career exploration in the middle schools and the high schools. So those were the general findings, and they are followed by a few more things that we really need to work on, in their opinion, because they are things that we actually prepared a list of the things that we felt we needed to work on going in, and we nailed it. I don't think there was anything that they surprised us with. First of all, promote engagement of parents, students, and community, and authentic two-way communication, which includes participation in the decision-making process. We need to be better at gathering more input from community, parents, and helping in that decision-making process. They recommend we expand the development and implementation of a plan for comprehensive technology integration. That's what we're talking about, Laura, with that data, or in the classroom, so we can help kids use the technology that we have to solve problems and to create original work. So now we need that to help our teachers with the skills necessary to make all of that happen. They recommend we create a data culture, and that we get better at looking at analyzing and evaluating our data to help us affect instruction in the classrooms, and how we help to make our system even better. So we've said it many times, we're data rich, but information poor sometimes, because we have all this data, but we don't always take the time to delve into that data to really help affect what happens on a day-to-day basis. And we knew going in that that's something that we need to continue to work on. Recommendation that we continue to ensure and evaluate evidence-based strategies, which promote creativity, collaboration, inquiry-based projects, and problem solving. The Cognia model really pushes the idea that we need students actively engaged in the learning process. And while they saw a lot of very high quality instruction going on, they didn't necessarily see a lot of project-based learning and things, and that would be a recommendation that they would like to see us go. So the written report will be sent to Cognia. They will finalize it, and then it goes to the national board for their review. But I will tell you, it was a phenomenal visit, and our report was very, very good. We know we have some things to work on. That is the idea of this, is that we have 13 professionals from around the nation come in and look at our school, and they felt very good about what they saw here. So thank you all for your leadership in moving all of this forward, and not being afraid to approve some of the goofy ideas we come up with sometimes. But anyway, thank you, and I'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Board, any questions, comments? Okay,
All right.
well, thank
Yeah.
you. I thought it
Thank
went
you.
well, and
Yeah.
I thought they asked good questions, and they led us on a lot of times on what they wanted to find out. That was a good experience.
And I know most of us here have been on a team, and they're an incredible amount of work. You work morning till night and to put that together. But just the fact that they spent, that much time in our classrooms, I think speaks well of that team. And the fact that they interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, they got a very good flavor for what our school district was about, and the report is good. So we'll be talking a little more when we get the final report, and about the direction that we'll look at on data, and looking at some of the technology integration and those types of things. And it helps us readdress our strategic plan moving forward, so we know where we need to be.
I really felt comfortable with Donna, listening with her, to tell she had a lot of experience, and she shared back with me, so it was a good morning. Okay.
I just
Well,
want
go
to
ahead,
add,
Laura.
the gal that I interviewed with, and now I can't remember her name, her son is the
Director of the music camp, yes.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes, and they very, very impressed with the committee that had prepared for their visit to Minot, and was thrilled that they got to go out and visit all 3 schools at the Air Force Base. And so kudos to the team that got everything.
And Pam
You ready
Strumplin
for it?
was the
Yeah.
one who really spearheaded the efforts. I will tell you, we had the last visit 5 years ago, and they only sent a team of 5, so we knew we were limited, and then one had a family emergency, a death in the family, and had to leave. So it was 4 people, and most of our schools didn't even get a visit. So we wanted to make sure that this time that all of our schools were visited, and they were all visited, and they all had Elliott observations done, and it was a good experience, so.
Okay, thank you. Board, item 5, consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kraft, seconded by Schuler. Any questions or comments here? Roll please.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Rosted.
Yes. Moving on to 7, new business, new teacher report number 11. Mrs. Dahl.
Mr. President, members of the board, you should have received a copy of that new teacher report for the 1920 school year. We recommend that you approve as presented.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Schuler, seconded by Lyman. Any comments here? Roll please.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Rosted.
Yes. Item B, one resignation I think we have.
Yes, there's one for you today. Todd Magnuson is requesting to resign at the conclusion of the current school year. We recommend that you approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mahalik, seconded by Kraft, to approve. Any questions, comments here?
Our first resignation,
I-
for retirement, so.
I do appreciate if they make plans to turn their reservation or their resignation in this early. So then we can hopefully get the best candidates that
Especially in
to
those
apply.
hard to
Yeah.
Yes,
fill areas.
yeah, so applaud Mr. Magnuson for that. Okay, roll please.
Kraft? Yes. Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Rosted.
Yes. Okay, item C, Minot High School registration guide, Ms. Slotsky.
It's hard to believe I'm coming with the 2020, 2021 registration guide. I just kind of gulp when I see that. So I'd like to take you through, you have a draft registration guide, but really what I want to highlight is the handout you have with red, because those are our new courses, as well as the courses we're recommending for removal from the registration guide. And I have to tell you, there is so much work that goes into this by lots of people, our counselors, our registrars, everybody's got their hands on this, trying to make sure, and it's amazing every year. We also make a lot of changes. I have not highlighted all those for you because you don't want to know where we are, have misspelled something or forgot a period or whatever. We did do a couple name changes, and what I'm learning is that, we have a lot of new fax teachers, for example, at Central. So they kind of want to put their spin on things, so they might tweak a course description, and I don't bring those forward. These are just the brand new courses that we're wishing to offer our students. So, and then I also try to reinforce that if all we ever do is add courses, we have so many students. So we have courses on the books that we might get 5 kids that register for it and then it doesn't go. So if we have classes that just haven't filled for a while, it's probably a time to delete them. So if I could just take you quickly through those. In business ed, a new class that's proposed is wealth management. Personal finance is a pretty popular class, and this really is just an expansion of that. They may shift a few of the topics, but students can take both of these, and they don't necessarily have to take them in order. If they took wealth management first and then said, "Oh, I never did take personal finance," they could take that if they wanted to. And that came from obviously our business ed department. And I would just also mention that in CTE, we do have advisory committees for all of those areas. So we have people from industry. We just had a business ed advisory committee yesterday. So, we have business people in the community. We have the city managers on there. We have a professor from United States. So, you know, we have committees like that for all of our CTE programs, so. Wealth management would be open to grades 10 through 12. Then we also have a new course, a few of you mentioned already, in the technology and engineering education department, gamers and game design. We have a feeling that that will be popular. And, oh, I see an error already. On the second page, robotics application, we've decided that should say robotic, not with an S, so we're changing that. And really, that is, the robotics applications came about because they do have this idea of a capstone project, but we couldn't go from an intro to that capstone and not really have something to keep kids interested. So next year we'll be coming with they kind of had the cart before the horse. So they put in that, they started talking about a capstone project and you're like, okay, kids take this class in 9th grade. What are they doing? So they came back to the table and said, we'd like to do robotic applications. And in that area, the programs or the courses that they proposed to delete are communication and entertainment engineering and agriculture and medical engineering. And then if we go to the IT area, they're proposing to delete current technologies and intro to programming languages, and really both of those courses are going to live on in the new computer science essentials. So that's the new course that they are proposing. So they will have programming as part of that course. It's also a Project Lead the Way course, and those are national standards. The Project Lead the Way courses can be found all over the country. What's nice with those is they come with some real rich curriculum and a lot of training that our teachers take part in the summer to prepare for teaching those classes. So that is our biomedical careers. Those were Project Lead the Way courses that we implemented. So in language arts, we are deleting developmental reading, or proposing to, I should say. One new course is Foundations of Speech. Anytime you see foundations, and in we often would use foundations and fundamentals interchangeably, and we have tried to clean up in our books so that we've changed all fundamentals to say foundations. So when you see that course, they will have an asterisk by it, and that is typically for students who need to move at a different pace. A slower pace, they may not cover all of the information that a regular speech class would. But we have a number of students that can still participate in speech, so we wanted to offer a different level. The next course in ELA is Advanced Debate and Research. And I think what's interesting about this one, this is the result of a student petition that came about at Magic City last year. Our teachers usually work on these and come up with courses that they recommend, but this one was actually a student-generated one, so I think that's kind of interesting. What can we do after we've already taken debate, and what can we do to enhance our research skills? So, also a new course is poetry. I actually was kind of surprised we didn't have a course like that prior to this year, so that's a new one. And Foundations of Language Arts 9, I know that we've had that on the books. We took it out when we combined it with Read 180 and did a 2-hour block, but we also would like to have just a standalone course like that. And then just to explain a little bit more, the next course is Foundations of Language Arts 10, which we have, but we want to also have a 2-hour block that we combine with Read 180. So we see a lot of success with our Read 180 program. Typically it's best in a 2-hour block setting. We combine this so that our students can get that ELA credit and still work on the Read 180. And in that 2-hour block time. So, and again, those are always teacher recommendation. Students just can't sign up for that course. They have to be recommended to take that. In the PE area, they recommended deleting dance, total fitness, and dance volleyball. They said that yoga is much more popular than dance right now. They have a lot of students that are very interested in yoga. So They proposed a yoga, volleyball course. And then the last new course is a Dimensions of Wellness. And this gives students in ninth grade an opportunity besides just regular PE. So really, this would be much more of a focus on individual. It's not gonna be a team sport, so if you are more interested in, working on you and not being part of a team and competition and those types of things, students will still take health every other day, but this would be an option instead of just regular ninth grade PE. And if I could ask you to just look in your registration guides, these are our push is that Central Campus, I think, may want to start registration tomorrow. So we, if these courses are approved, our book is not ready to go, but if you would turn to page 54, you're gonna see a QR code underneath Introduction to Robotics. So our students could take their phone, scan that, it will take them to YouTube, and they will see a little video that promotes this course. So Magic City is working on right now 20 more courses that will have a QR code. They hired a former student who's got a business right now and has been in. I was up at the school one day when they have videos of interviews of teachers, and then they have videos from in the classroom. I think it's a great innovative way to promote courses, particularly in high school where, if you go to another high school, you probably from the time you're in ninth grade, you walk by classrooms and say, I wonder what's going on in there. But our 9th and 10th graders don't get an opportunity to have their interests peaked that way. So, but they aren't going to be done with that project until December 20th. So we're going to hold off on printing this guide for everybody, but the 9th graders over at Central Campus start, and that's okay because these QR codes are all for Magic City courses. So, but that's a really exciting thing. I mean, we've talked about this for a while. We did one last year, and now we're going to insert a few more. So I heard lots of teachers going in saying, I'm nervous, and afterwards it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So I would be glad to answer any questions you might have about those proposed courses.
Board?
Sounds great.
Yes.
So the course that was brought forth by the students, is there an avenue for them to do that more often? Because I think that's really interesting that they're bringing forth something they're interested in and we're able to provide that to them. So is there an avenue for them to be able to do that maybe on an annual basis?
I think a lot of that comes through I think the teachers that work with students get some of their ideas from students. That one was probably more interesting because it's in the language arts area, and I don't know that there's always a lot of push for more electives in language arts because they have to take it every year as a requirement. So I probably should have explained that a little bit better.
It's a neat concept though.
Yeah.
To come forth that way.
The one thing I
You can
will
look
say,
at that way. I mean,
one thing I will say, and Kim was an assistant principal in that high school, and I was too, that you have to be careful that if you're gonna offer courses, that there's a sustainability factor and that it is something that is going to move in a direction. For example, like a couple of years ago, the North Dakota legislature said we had to offer a North Dakota history course. We offer it every year. We have I don't know if we have a section this year even.
we might have one.
So sometimes you have to be just so careful that you don't just put in too many classes. The other end of it is too, and it's always a little bit of a concern, is the fact that we only have so many kids with so many hours to take classes. So when you bring classes forward, it means that it will close up an opportunity potentially for another class that we have. So there's a lot of discussion, and the principals weigh in heavily on that, and counselors, and but I like the idea that students have an opportunity to bring those ideas forward. I think right now they do it through the teachers. So
I think, just a couple years ago, Sarah, you might remember when we added the ACT prep courses. I mean, I think that came from students wanting to do better.
Yeah, it kind of grew out.
Or AP prep, I'm sorry, not ACT, AP prep, right?
Well, the AP stuff came from Nancy.
Oh, okay.
Yep, but the ACT prep actually was something we offered after school and before school, and then it
kind of grew out of students actually enjoyed doing it, felt like they were getting better. So that did grow out of that.
And there's no question when you approve two very popular programs right now that we have, and that's aviation and our biomedical careers, or biomedical health sciences track. And there's no doubt that other programs took a hit when those programs became quite popular.
Or anything further? One thing came to mind as you were presenting, a general question, and you had mentioned reading 180, and it brought a question in my mind. We, through the years, the board's been very supportive of the reading programs and actually spent quite a bit of money on it. Do you think it's paying dividends for our district? And any comments, especially Tracy?
Right, I think we get reports on a regular basis through those programs, and we are seeing very good progress and growth for students. We'll have another report coming up later this month.
And they have expected gains, and there's so often that we have what they call like superstars that exceed those gains. And hopefully we'll have some, Billy Boyath was just telling me today, he's been pulling some data from our Striving Readers Grant with the LLI, and he said, I had to keep redoing it because I wasn't sure this was right.
Good. Okay, just want to pop that question in there.
But it's a good reminder, we'll bring that in to share.
Yes.
Okay, where are we at?
We'll need an approval on those changes.
Okay, board, so moved by Lyman, seconded by Kraft? Oh, sure. Yep, I didn't.
Oh, no, yeah, it wasn't.
There did you go, okay. By Kraft. Anything further? Roll, please.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Croston.
Yes. Item D, Avid, A-V-I-D.
I think it's pronounced
Avid?
Avid.
Avid, thank you. Ms. Lasky wants to be on.
We had quite a lengthy discussion. This course came through our curriculum adoption process as well, came to curriculum committee. As we talked about it, there's some real strong feelings that maybe it should start at middle school. So we, took it off the table at curriculum review and then got together with all of the high school and elementary or middle school principals. And all of them, I think, have attended, they call them showcases. And they've seen, I think they've been to Bismarck and Mandan because they both have had this program in place. Mandan for a couple years, Bismarck probably 5 or 6 years. So AVID is advancement via individual determination, is it? And I think that our principals have spent so much time talking to other principals that they are just really excited to try something like this. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than student testimonials, and that's part of the showcase where they, I think all of them have talked about a student from Bismarck who people probably knew very well as a good athlete that said, I would have never been successful in a collegiate athlete had it not been for this program. Because I just don't think I would have been successful at college. I might have been able to, play at that level, but I don't think I could have been a successful college student. I think I provided some information, but if I could just take you through, really, the purpose is to increase the number of students that go to college, but not only go to college, but successfully complete college. Because I don't think North Dakota is any different than a lot of states where we like to take a lot of pride in the number of students that we send to college, but we don't always look at that completer rate or even maybe always know it. So to increase the number of students that can go to college and be successful, and what is of great interest, I think, to our principals is that these would be, there's an application process to be a part of this course because they are looking to make sure that they support students who have college potential, but would maybe not be able to be successful without support from this kind of a course. And also students who are historically underserved in our four-year institutions. So if I can just paint a small picture, because what we would like to do is start with a pilot at 8th grade. At the two in-town middle schools, there's training involved, and they train a team, and we also think middle school would be a great place to start because we already have the team concept at middle school. So we would take a team of 8th grade teachers from Jim Hill and Ramstead. They would go to training this summer, and they are trained in strategies that they would use in all of their courses. So, you know, if it's a writing strategy, the ELA teachers would be using that in their regular courses. But one of those 4 people on the team would also be the one that teaches this elective course. Okay, so 4 people trained, they're using strategies, and all students on their team are going to be exposed to that. Then there would be students that would be in this elective class. And this class, there are students that once they're in it, they choose to take it as an elective all the way through. I don't know anything about Avid in elementary, but it is indicated on here. The examples that I know of in our state are middle school and high school. And the idea is that you maybe start small with like 5% of the class and grow it to 10%. And that's really why I have not put Memorial in the pilot, because our class is so small to begin with. I would like to pilot it at 8th grade. And I believe that if we say that this is good, what we would then do is look at something at Memorial that would do a combination, maybe 7th and 8th grade, so we could get to a number that would make it a viable class. Because right now, if we started with 10% of the 8th grade class at Memorial, that would be 6 students. And not very often do we have a class for 6 students. And we wouldn't typically start with 10% of the class. We start a little bit smaller and try to grow that. So I gave you a lot of information on there. The goal is to make them better prepared to be successful in college. And by doing that, the goal is that they will take more rigorous courses in school. So if we start this, that we're going to see also, and that kind of goes hand in hand with our NIMSY, where we're trying to get more students in our AP courses. Our principals are very passionate about this. They would really like to see this, and I support them in that request. And they're okay with us starting small, which would be a pilot. I provided some cost estimates for you. You know, in this first year, if we did 2 schools, it's going to be about $40,000 plus some travel. The training is in Minneapolis in the summer, so at least it's fairly close. And if we said, next year at this time is when I would be coming back and saying, we would like to have an Avid course at 9th grade and continue in 8th grade, because that's how we would grow it. Then we would have a course description there for you. I mean, you can see that here. And then in a second year, I would guess that the class could be around $70,000, because we would probably add 3 more sites the next year. There would be Memorial, and then, or actually only 2 more sites, sorry. It'd be about 65,000. It would be, we would add Memorial and then Central Campus. And it would be at Central Campus for a couple years before we would add 2. So right now, the teacher time, I think, could be picked up with a 6-period contract. If we fully implement this, we probably would have a teacher or 2 that would need to be added that would travel to those secondary schools and teach that elective course.
Dr. Ballmer, did you have a
I
comment
just
or 2?
want to say I agree with Kim that I spent a lot of time as a high school principal talking with kids going into their senior year, and their parents would say, what is it going to be, a 4-year college or a 2-year college? Because if you want to go 4-year, you got to get advanced algebra in this year, or you got to take this, you got to take that. This is it, working with students to really push that academic drive all the way through, so we're not waiting till that senior year to have to deal with that question. And the other thing is, as far as success rates, your chances of being successful in college are much higher if you've taken a more rigorous curriculum all the way through. So I think it's a great program. I like the fact that the recommendation is that we're starting on that pilot route. We've been seeing a lot of pilots coming in the last few years, and we'd like an opportunity to delve into it, take a look, and if it's what we anticipate it is, then we can talk further implementation.
And I have not been to a showcase, so if I have an opportunity, I'm going to try to go to one, and I don't know if anybody else would be interested if I find out that there's one this year in the Bismarck area.
Ms. Schuler.
Thank you. Are there other districts in the state that are doing this yet?
Yes.
Bismarck.
Okay, and have they been doing it for a long time? Are they-
Bismarck's been doing it about 5 or 6 years. Mandan it might just be in their second year.
I think West Fargo.
And I
was the
think West
longest.
Fargo-
I think they're at 8 or 9 years now.
I know there's one school
Are
on the
they
east.
K through 12, or are they just doing?
As far as I know, it's secondary.
I think they do either a 7th or 8th grade model like we're talking, so. But the idea is you implement an 8th grade, so we're ready to roll into high school.
Yes.
Do you
go right
know,
ahead.
are there results similar to what's being seen on the national average here? The 42% of first generation completing college?
I have not seen, when I went online, I had Scott Fall had given me data from Minnesota. I just don't know that they have enough from North Dakota. There was no North Dakota snapshot, so I can't speak to that. I do know that, the percentages that they say they reach are probably what we're at now, but North Dakota is well known for sending a lot of students to school, college. It's just not well known for having, we might send 70% and then we have a 44% completion rate. So, our data probably would be skewed, but I would expect that we would, and maybe if the number going to college didn't increase a lot, what we would expect to see is students are successful and stick with it.
Do you have that actual number?
The number that
The
the
number
state has,
that goes versus to see if it's worth spending that to have it?
from those other schools?
Just for North Dakota, on our students' standpoint, the ones that start school versus the ones that finish school.
I know I've seen statistics like that, but I haven't seen anything recently.
Instead of a national average, it's us.
Yeah, North
But I
Dakota.
can tell you this, there's a large discrepancy in the state between the number of kids that go to college and the number of kids that are successful in college.
Mhm.
But that being said, you have to define, I think, a little bit about what success looks like, because in my day, I'm old, right? But you went to college and you went for 4 years and you got your degree, and then that's what you did for the rest of your life. I was an educator and I'm now at the end of my career, right? But we see a lot of our young folks that will go to school for a couple of years. They might take some time off, they might come back, they might take another route. So those are hard, but the 4-year success rate that's something I can track that down. I can't get it for you right now, but I can tell you we have a lot of students that have difficulty when they go to college.
And that has to come out of the university system, those
Yeah.
percentages. So I know I've seen it, but probably not recently, but if we can track that down, we'll certainly share that.
It is hard until North Dakota goes to a student ID system that carries all the way through your entire life, because your high school ID system or your public school ID system and Power School is not the same as your college ID system or number, so it is confusing to monitor, but we can get you some statistics on that. But I will tell you that, making sure that kids are as best prepared for whatever option is out there I think that's where we're doing right by kids.
I would think this would really help steer students when they're gonna be starting high school on what do you want to accomplish, and at least make them think about it, and especially, a lot of the brighter students, it may well be a factor in, okay, what am I gonna take here, and you would think it would be advantageous for them, and especially if they're meeting with their counselors or whatever.
Magic City does a college registration day, and I can't remember what you call it, where everybody does the application, the universal app. Anyway, there are a number of students who would be a first generation college student, and I think that's an exciting group to think about, because if nobody at home talks about going to college, this is a place where you get started on that track.
To know that there are options, and in that elective class, they start talking about how do you fund college, how do you get there, why is it important to have a rigorous math background when you go to college, and all of that. And I've spoken to Dr. Hornbacher and Dr. Bismarck and Mandan respectively, and they both are so impressed with the program. They speak very, very highly. They said if you ever have any doubts, they said to go talk with the kids in the program, because they're telling you it's a game changer for them.
Is it,
Mr. Lyman?
I'm curious, I like the program, I like the idea, I'm just curious how we're gonna measure it in a year, or 2 years, or 3 years. So we're not gonna see if any of these kids actually decide to go to college, or decide to, or are able to succeed in college for 5 to 10 years.
Right.
So that's a hard one for me to see.
Yeah, I would measure it partly by do they stick with it. They don't have to. I mean, because they're gonna gain some skills, but what I have heard from Bismarck is that oftentimes they have a core group of kids that start and never wanna get out of it again. Because it's the support that they need to be successful. So you're right, it would be a long time down the road to see the college success, but if we can start tracking those students, because it's not a huge number. We could start tracking them and saying, what kind of courses are they taking? And just say, are they in an advanced math? Are they in an advanced science? Do we see them taking 4 years of science versus, the minimum?
I'm in a 3-year, 4.
Exactly. There you go, that's pretty good.
is it teacher recommend, I mean, like
There's a,
eighth grade, would it, I mean, not every student's gonna do this, is it
Yeah.
something that?
that's interesting because our teachers probably won't have enough of a grasp of it. There's a process and an application, so, but part of that is to gear to underserved populations, populations that have not necessarily gone to college before. So we would learn about all of that in the training. So, they would have to meet kind of all that criteria, to be placed in that, so.
Ms. Schuler, go ahead.
Thanks, this is really interesting, but I was looking at the student profile where it says things like, academic middle or average GPA, average test score. So the student profile wouldn't be the student that's excelling already
No.
potentially.
No.
I'm guessing there's several things in here, good attendance, good behavior, desire. So if you could find a niche for them to fit into one of those, but you're not gonna pick the kids that are already high accelerating
No.
kids to get it.
They're already on a path to take advanced
Exactly.
courses, yep. And probably have the support at home that they would be successful.
But it may well influence
Right.
kids that had never thought about it before,
Right.
or received direction from them.
And
Or, what?
I would just like to say that, one thing you need to understand about what we do in MyNet, which is different, I think, than a lot of schools, is that we offer high quality education for all students with an abundance of electives. So when we start talking about everything you have in that registration guide, understand that this is a nervous time for elective teachers because their employment, their program depends on the number of students that enroll. When I was in Willow City, we had a FACS teacher, we had a GOAG teacher, and those were our electives that you took, that was it. So we have an opportunity for kids to take a lot of different things. And for parents that advise their kids to take those advanced courses, they're not the kids that fit into that avid profile. It's for kids that maybe need some encouragement to say, something you did well in algebra, we need to get you into advanced algebra right away, or, you really need to consider advanced math. It's just another support structure for kids that it helps make a difference. So at the end of high school, even if they don't go to college, it's an option to go to college, where if they hadn't been encouraged all the way through, it might not have even been an option for a 4-year college or university. So it's good stuff.
So moved, Mr. President.
No, we're actually not looking.
We're just gonna try a pilot if that's,
Yeah.
I just want
But
to,
I feel your idea.
I hope to be back next year with, saying that we've done this for a semester and it's really.
Some data.
Are you moving to have Kimmer to do it, or just have her keep coming
Yeah,
to
just
us?
keep coming.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think that would be our recommendation too, and keep exploring this, but, I think that it would be a definite benefit to our, kids and, your programs.
Well, just gauging your interest, if I find out there's a showcase in Bismarck, I will put that out to you
Okay.
just in case somebody would want to
Please.
look at that.
Okay, thank you, and we'll look forward to continuing the discussion. Okay, Mr. Strand, CLC program fees.
Mr. Board President and board members, thanks for having me here this evening. The reason why I'm here is our CFC grant projections indicate that the current expenditure is going to exceed our revenue. So we need to make changes in our budget. Several reasons why that happened. Low enrollments at one site, Washington, which was the biggest grant site. We lost 50 families there, so which makes us overstaffed. Reduction in grant funding, and then we had our CLC budget. It was completed before negotiations, so unknown wage increases I didn't know that were going to happen, which will cost our staff, but will be good for our budget. What we need to do is, one thing is hopefully increase program fees, which I hate to do. We're here to make money out for the families. We're here to offer service for every family and make it affordable. Make the program run too. And we're going to try to reduce expenditures wherever we can, make it feasible. We have that staff reduction, but we still want to save for our students too. So we're trying to keep that 120 pace for the students. There's 4 sites in the grant now: McKinley, Roosevelt, Sunnyside, and Washington. You can compare our budget from last year to this year. Last year we were up close to $5,000. This year we're down close to $15,000. And then if we increased it, we'd be close to $100 a month that we'd have a cost balance. Excuse me. Last time we had a program fee increase was 2007. So it's been some time. We held on, but I hate to do it, but we would like to see a proposal of a $30 increase across the board. I compared it to the rest of the state. When we added that $30 to every category, Dickinson, we'd still be 20% lower on them. Bismarck, we'd catch up to them, we'd be equal with them. And then Wilson, would be 30% more for program fees. So if you look at the daycares in town, we just went off the free category, we're 80% lower. Reduced 70%, and then full 55%. So we're feasible, we're willing to work with families too that couldn't make this jump. Did that throughout the years. People are struggling, we'll work with them. But we're still lower than our non-grant sites. So, like I said, I don't like to increase the program fees. We want the families in our program to get safe, offer them our services, different activities. So, any questions from you?
Board?
So just to clarify, this is just at the 4 grant sites.
Yes.
The non-grant sites would not see it. I think it's amazing that you've gone 12 years. I can't imagine, I can't think of a program that has gone 12 years without a fee increase in anything in my life, anything that I've ever seen. I think it's amazing that you've gone that far, and this is a very reasonable increase.
So do you want to make that in the form of
Make
a motion?
yes.
I will second.
Okay. Moved by Lyman, second by Mahalik to approve the increase. Any questions?
Has it caused you some sleepless nights, Cory?
You know me.
Just a quick comment, Mr. President. Boyd runs a great program.
Yeah.
There's not excess, there's not
Yeah.
waste. He is stressing over this, and I've tried to assure him that this is a really valued program, and we haven't increased fees since 2007. So don't be
Yes.
nervous. This is just the price of doing business, and you were spot on.
Yeah.
Line 97 said.
And it's a
Appreciate your
reasonable-
diligence in watching expenses,
Yeah.
but there comes a time where,
Still one of the best, if
Yeah.
not the best, before and after
Yeah.
school program.
Right.
absolutely,
I'm glad we offered.
yeah.
Bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Okay, roll please.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Rossman.
Yes.
Thank you.
have a retreat coming up, very soon.
Yes, 4:45 actually, so I guess we'll have to wait till 4:45 tomorrow. No, I would suggest we take a couple-minute break. We're gonna be moving over to the curriculum conference room right down the hallway. The topic is just some future planning we need to talk about. And then we have holiday social December 18th at the Clarion, which is the old Holiday Inn Riverside. 3:30 to 5:30, hope you can be there. Board members, we asked to meet us by the back door there and we can welcome folks as they come in. So at any rate, that's all I have for announcements.
Ms. Hicks, do you have any grand news you need to share, or
I don't know.
everything
think
going
so.
along as normal, which is good,
That's good.
very good. And Kim Craig from the base, anything going on out there that's noteworthy or newsworthy?
Well, I think it's noteworthy to mention that our board, most of the members are relatively new, and we had training at the beginning of October that Dr. Balmer and Raquel coordinated, that all of our board members attended and so received that training. And then we had 2 board members, including myself, that did attend the North Park School Board training later in the month of October. So I think we're even better equipped now than we were before because of all of that training that happened in October. But otherwise, the base is pretty normal.
Well, that's good though, you're looking forward and moving on. That's good, good news. I see Raquel is with us today, so good to see you here. Thanks for coming. And with that, I think we're done for
Just want to
this.
take a couple-minute
Yeah.
break or what?
This meeting's adjourned.
Okay, adjourned.
Hey, Jared.